sing, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, Saint, does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Well, that was really wonderful. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. I'm Victoria Tipp, Town of Newcastle Supervisor. Welcome to the inauguration of Town of Newcastle officials. It's great to see such a nice crowd, and I'm glad the house lights are up. It's good to see your faces. Today, the oath of office will be given to Holly McCall as Deputy Town Supervisor, Council Member Eric Marmon, Town Justice Noah Sorkin, Westchester County Legislator and Chairman of the Board of Legislators, Vedat Gashi, and finally to me as your Town Supervisor. Thank you to the Newcastle Police Department, Chappaqua Fire Department, Millwood Fire Department, Newcastle Fire District Number 1, for your exceptional service today in the beautiful and moving presentation of colors. I want to recognize and thank the talented musicians from Horace Greeley High School. We had Chloe Chen on viola, Victoria Chang on violin, Felix Hong on cello, Cecilia Valdez on violin, and Kathleen Feldman, the orchestra director. Thank you for doing a great job with your orchestra. And thank you again, Talia Desi, Horace Greeley High School senior, who sang the national anthem so beautifully. I want to thank the Chappaqua Boy Scout Troop Number 2 and the Chappaqua Girl Scout Troop Number 2748 for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and to the Girl Scout Troop for handing out programs. You did a wonderful job. I want to recognize our distinguished guests and elected leaders who do us a great honor by joining us tonight. Participating in our program today is President William Jefferson Clinton, Secretary Hillary Rodham Clinton, and soon to be with us, New York State Assemblyman Chris Burdick. I have to say one thing. Chris has gone over and above the call of duty. He is in session in Albany today and tomorrow, but he's on his way here to be with us today, and he will arrive very shortly. So he is to be commended, not for being late, but for coming here from Albany and probably going right back later. So thank you, Chris. We'll see him soon. Westchester County Executive Ken Jenkins. Westchester County Legislator and Chairman of the Board of Legislators, Vedat Gashi. Soon to be inaugurated Deputy Supervisor Holly McCall. Council Member Eric Marmon, Town Justice Noah Sorkin, and not being inaugurated today is Council Member Jennifer Naparstek-Klein. There she is. And soon to be with us, Council Member Alexandra Kemtov, who has a busy, busy job. She will be here. In the audience, we are honored to have representing U.S. Senator Charles E. Schumer, his Hudson Valley Deputy Regional Director, Phoebe Marwill. Thank you for being here. We have Chair of the Westchester County Democratic Committee, Suzanne Berger. We have some Westchester County legislators, and I will not name all of them because I will forget someone. So I will let Vedat Gashi name, name his legislators. I will not steal his thunder. Okay. In the audience, we also have newly elected Mount Kisco trustee Tammy Brown, North Castle Councilman newly elected Sunny Vataj. We have Councilman Ilan Gilbert from Yorktown, and Diana Quast, Yorktown Clerk. We have the co-chairs of the Newcastle Democratic Committee, Randy Glazer and Jane Silverman, together with several district leaders of the committee. We are so grateful for all your support and your endorsement, which has led to this moment for us. Thank you so much. Also in the audience, we have Chappaqua Central School District Board President Kaylee Huang, School Board Trustee Allison Steinbauer, School Superintendent Dr. Christine Ackerman, High School Principal Sandra Seppi, and Student Coordinator Tanuki Kolpa. And finally, I also recognize the distinguished women of the Westchester Black Women's Political Caucus. President Emeritus Subomi Macaulay, and members of the Greater Bedford chapter, of which I am a part, Director Letitia Stapleton, President Marianne Carr, Vice President Charlotte Biancone, and members Tanuki Kolpa, wearing 2 hats, and Cynthia Ryan. And I finally want to thank the people without whom this event could not happen, our Town Administrator, Rob Deary, and Assistant to the Town Administrator, Lauren Cascone, Town Clerk, Christina Papes, and Executive Director of the Newcastle Community Media Center, Carrie Krams. And we thank all of you in the audience who have come from near and far for this inauguration. And so let's get started. I'd like to introduce Council Member Jennifer Naparstek-Klein to read a letter by U.S. Senator Charles Schumer. Oh, I forgot something. You need to sit back down. First and foremost, we will start with an invocation by Reverend Siobhan Sargent Faustino from the First Congregational Church of Chappaqua.
Let us take pause and enter this moment with reverence and care. Spirit of life and wisdom, we gather tonight to offer our thanks for this community and its people, for the story that has shaped this town, and for those who have so faithfully served its needs across the years. And we gather to offer our joy and sincere gratitude for those who have been elected to begin a new term of public office. In a world that is complex and often divided, where certainty can feel scarce and where the work of listening is as necessary as the work of leading, we remember that leadership is not a possession, but a responsibility. It is not a position of power, but an act of service, shaped by accountability and grounded in an abiding commitment to uphold the dignity of every person. Let our time together tonight mark this beginning not as mere formality or ceremony, but as a moment of clear intention. May it steady our elected officials as they set off to tend to what has been entrusted to their care, not only in grand gestures alone, but in the daily choices that shape justice, care, and cooperation. And for all of us who call Newcastle home, may this time together renew our commitment to the shared work of building community, where trust may grow, voices may be heard, and the common good may be faithfully pursued among us all. Amen.
Good evening, everyone. It's such an honor to participate in tonight's swearing in of several amazing and dedicated individuals. I'll be reading some remarks from Senator Chuck Schumer, but first, I'd like to quickly say that over the past 2 years serving on the town board here in Newcastle, I've become more keenly aware of what it means to be responsible for the well-being, safety, and rights of the people we serve in our community. This past week, I watched closely as Mayor Jacob Fry of Minneapolis looked on and distressed for his city. I felt his powerful desire to hold his constituents close as they mourned and his anger at unnecessary harm brought to his city. Seeing him as a model really drove home for me what that protective instinct feels like when you serve in public office, and when it feels that orders from the federal level are stripping rights and putting people in mortal danger. I don't think I'm overstating it to say that who we elect and who we swear into office matters greatly. That is why I am so proud to watch as Vicky, Holly, Eric, Noah, and Vidot are sworn in tonight, and to welcome all the elected officials on this stage, past and present, who are tireless in doing their absolute best for their constituencies and for this country. This is from Senator Chuck Schumer. Thank you. Dear friends, please accept my warmest greetings as you gather in the town of Newcastle to swear in your elected officials for a new term. The town of Newcastle has a rich history dating back to before the American Revolution and continuing to the present day. Newcastle is home to a strong community surrounded by beautiful green space and small town charm right in the heart of the Hudson Valley. It's truly a gem of our region and state, and as you look around the room today, it's no surprise that so many have taken notice. It's why I am honored to recognize each of these distinguished public servants as they take the oath of office and continue to commit themselves to leadership and service to the people of the town of Newcastle. I am honored to recognize the elected officials being sworn in today: Town Supervisor Victoria B. Tipp, Council members Holly McCall and Eric Marmon, Town Justice Noah Sorkin, and Westchester County Board of Legislators Chairman Vidot Gashi. All of these elected officials have dedicated their careers to the safety and well-being of Newcastle. Their work has and will continue to impact the lives of the people who call Newcastle their home. I look forward to working collaboratively with them as we work to address the myriad of challenges we face. On behalf of all New Yorkers and the residents of Newcastle, congratulations on your elections and your inaugurations. I wish you much success in your upcoming terms, and I know that you will always lead with conviction and compassion. My best wishes for a wonderful event and a wonderful 2026. Sincerely, Charles Schumer, United States Senator.
Thank you, Jen, for reading the letter, and very importantly, for your wise and moving words. Thank you. And I want to recognize New York State Assemblyman Chris Burdick, who made it here today. Chris, I explained to everyone how you've gone over and above the call of duty. Really appreciate that you made it. Good to see you. I would like to introduce a video that's sent by New York Senator Pete Harckham. Pete is also in Albany, and his schedule was not as flexible as Chris's schedule, and so he, in all fairness, could not possibly physically make it, but we have a video that he took the time to make, and we are going to show it right now.
This is New York State Senator Pete Harckham. I'm coming to you live from Albany because we're in session, so I'm sorry I can't be with you in person. I want to thank you all for being here to congratulate the public officials being sworn in. I want to thank President and Secretary Clinton for their lifetime of service, but more importantly, for presiding over this very important community event. Now more than ever, it's important that we gather to support the peaceful transfer of power from one political administration to the next. And you, the public, for being there to support this process as well. But mostly, tonight, we want to congratulate the public servants who are being sworn in. Victoria Tipp as Town Supervisor, Holly McCall and Eric Marmon being sworn in as Town Council members, Noah Sorkin as Town Justice, and my good friend Vedat Gashi, not only sworn in as County Legislator, but also was reelected to be Chair of the County Board of Legislators. So thank you all for being here. Congratulations, and I look forward to working with all of the newly sworn in elected officials.
All right, so first, good evening, everyone. I'm County Executive Ken Jenkins, and it is an honor and a privilege to be here this evening with you. I'm in the town of Newcastle as we first inaugurate and swear in our newly and re-elected town board members, our judge, our town justice, as well as our good friend Vedat Gashi. When we take the time to make sure to be here this evening, as Senator Harckham was just pointing out, with President Clinton and Secretary Clinton leading Hillary Rodham Clinton leading our charge this evening, it also reminds us why it is so very important that we take this time not just to be able to stand here and sit here this evening, but to have not just peaceful transfer of power, understanding what it means to be true elected officials. The people that have led this evening, I have the privilege of introducing someone that needs no introduction here. Senator Harckham said that last year that we did not need an introduction for Secretary Hillary Rodham Clinton. She made me promise that I wouldn't use the 10-minute speech that I had prepared for her, and I think all of you would appreciate that. But the truth is our 67th Secretary of State is so very busy doing so many things, answering every email, social media post that said, "She told us so," and trying to explain to people how to be a real Secretary of State. The reality at the end of the day is that the Clintons and Secretary Hillary Rodham Clinton exemplify what it means for public service, what it means to be a member of the community, what it means to be a continued leader no matter what position that you're in. When we look around and we think about Secretary Hillary Rodham Clinton, we think about all the things and all the path that she has gone. And we understand how so very important it is for all of us to be here with her as she does this inauguration this evening. So if you can, please stand for the 67th Secretary of State, former senator, great person, and at the bottom line, a great-grandma, a great-grandmother, our friend, Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, wow.
Thank you so much, Ken. Wow. It is a great treat for Bill and me to be here with our neighbors, our friends, and the leaders of our community. This ceremony, which we've been privileged to participate in for several years now, has been very meaningful to us, and I'm extremely grateful for the chance to take part in the local part of government, which really, at the end of the day, is the building block for all government. And I appreciate very much your comments, Jennifer. Thank you for mentioning the challenges that we're facing in our country today, and I thank Pete for his remarks about peaceful transfer of power, and that all is especially important as we are beginning the year of the 250th anniversary of our Declaration of Independence. And if I had a single wish, it would be that all of our friends and neighbors here in Newcastle and throughout New York, especially young people, would read the Declaration of Independence, particularly the preamble, and understand what we've been entrusted with and how important it is that each of us do our part, both as leaders and as citizens. So now I have the great honor and pleasure of swearing in Holly. So Holly, if you would come here, and maybe, is this mic on too? Yes. So if you want to speak into that mic, so if you will repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Holly McCall,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of Deputy Supervisor of the Town of Newcastle
of Deputy Supervisor of the Town of Newcastle
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator and Secretary Clinton. I want to just take a moment and reflect on that oath that I just took. It is the same oath that I took at the beginning of my first term, but tonight it feels different. I understand more deeply what that promise requires: time and patience, humility and resilience, and an unwavering belief in the power of community. I want to give my sincere thanks to Secretary Hillary Rodham Clinton for administering the oath this evening. It's truly an honor. Thank you. I'm also deeply grateful to both Secretary Clinton and President Bill Clinton for their continued support of our local democracy and for reminding us by example that public service matters at every level, especially here right at home. I'm incredibly grateful to the residents of Newcastle for your continued support, for the trust you've placed in me by electing me to a second term. Thank you for the conversations at community events, the emails, the phone calls, the thoughtful feedback, and yes, even the tough criticisms. All of it comes from people who care deeply about this town, and that is what matters. I want to thank the Newcastle Democratic Committee, my friends, for your support, your confidence, your guidance, and the work that you do year after year to strengthen our local democracy. I am grateful to be part of a community that values civic engagement and public service. To my family, none of this would be possible without you. I want to thank my parents, Karen and Jim, for instilling in me the values of service, integrity, and community that guide me every day. To my husband, Chris, thank you for your constant support, sometimes your patience, and always your partnership, especially when the schedule gets a little bit hectic or the work follows me home. And to my sons, Alexander and Jonathan, I hope you're proud of the example of service and commitment I try to live by, and that one day you'll find your own way to serve. Over the past 3 years, I've learned that local government is less about the big speeches and more about the steady and consistent work. It's about the budgets, the tax cap, the infrastructure, the planning, and the policy. But it's also about listening to our neighbors with different perspectives and finding a path forward together. It's remembering that even when we disagree, we're still part of the same community. As I begin this next term, my focus is on sustainable growth. Growth that protects what makes Newcastle special while preparing us for the future. I want us to continue to be a place where people choose to put down their roots, raise their families, grow older, and stay connected. And that means thoughtful development, continuing our strong environmental stewardship, supporting our hamlets and our local businesses so they can be vibrant and welcoming. We won't always agree on every issue, and that's okay. What matters to me is that we approach our work with respect, transparency, and a shared commitment to the long-term health of this town. I am honored to continue serving alongside my colleagues on the board, and welcome to Eric, and deeply grateful for our dedicated town staff. You're truly the ones who keep this town running every single day. Thank you again for this opportunity to serve, for your trust, and for your partnership. I'm proud to call Newcastle home, and I'm ready to continue the work ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Holly. Now, Eric. So, please repeat after me, Eric,
Yes,
okay? Are you ready?
I think so. Are you?
Good. I think you are ready.
Oh, great.
Okay. I state your name.
I, Eric Marmon,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of Town Council member
of Town Council member
of the Town of Newcastle
of the Town of Newcastle
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Can everyone hear me all right? I am very nervous. How are you guys doing? This is the biggest group I've spoken in front of. Is this the biggest group you guys have ever spoken in front of? Once or twice? Once or twice? All right. Firstly, thank you. I've been rehearsing that line a lot. I'm really glad you guys laughed at that. There are really too many people to thank. First, I got to start with Brandy and Jane and the entire Newcastle Democratic Committee for knocking on doors, for getting signatures, for getting out the vote, especially to Jeff Kuduk, who's not here tonight. I don't believe Jeff. He's waiting for us at Quaker, but he was there every Saturday at the farmer's market. He was the only one who got to the farmer's market before I did, so special shout out to the Newcastle Democratic Committee and especially to Jeff. Yeah, we can clap for Jeff and the Newcastle, absolutely. To Holly, to Vicky, to Vidat, to Ken, to everyone I was on the ballot with this November. Vidat, I've said this before, hardest working man in politics, and you hate when I say it, I'm gonna keep saying it. We didn't get a picture when we were at the train station at 5:30 in the morning, but since we didn't take the picture, I can tell people it was 5:30 instead of 6, so that's pretty great. And then lastly, I gotta say thank you to my family. My two oldest friends are here tonight. My parents are here tonight. Thank you to my parents for instilling on me a path for life led by virtue and hard work. And then to my two kids, Maya and Logan, hi, and my wife Alex, who gave me a reason to actually walk that path. Alex, it was almost 10 years ago at the Kittle House. We didn't know this was where we were gonna end up, but I'll say the same thing I said to you that night. My soul belongs to you. You know, the question I got asked the most this entire time while campaigning was, why do you want to be on town board? People wouldn't ask it like that. They'd say, why the, and then a 4-letter word, would you want to be on town board? Before I'd answer that, I'd be remiss if I was on this stage with everybody here and I didn't at least address all these horrible national headlines we seem to get every single day from this fascist in the White House. It's okay, he said we can call him that. It seems like every morning we look at our phones, our TVs, our newspapers, we see another horrible headline. Despite this, I remain very optimistic for the future of our country. And there are a lot of reasons I remain optimistic. But one of them, I draw strength actually from the words of President Clinton, who has said on more than one occasion, Hillary, do you know what I'm going to say? Don't look at the headlines, look at the trend lines. So let's talk about trend lines for a minute. I'm a data guy, so let's talk trend lines. Our country's turning 250 years old this year. I'm the youngest person on this stage. I'm the youngest person on this stage. So the time when I was a kid, when I was my kid's age, compared to the history of our country, not that long ago. When I was a kid, not that long ago in comparison. Well, when I was a kid, just 27% of Americans supported legal same-sex marriage. That's 1 out of 4 Americans. And then 3 out of 4 Americans back when I was a kid, when I was my kid's age, didn't think the gay community had the right to get married. George W. Bush stood up on a debate stage. He called them special rights. And he got elected. Well, did he get elected? Anyway, my point is that that figure today is over 71%, so we're now at 3 out of 4 Americans in favor. This country went 230 years believing one thing, and in the last 20, we now believe the opposite. That's a trend line. When I was a kid, 37% of Americans felt the government should require companies to reduce greenhouse gases. That number is now over 66%. That's enough to break a Senate filibuster. Again, from 1 out of 3 Americans to 2 out of 3, a small minority to a massive majority in one generation. That's a trend line. When I was a kid, 31%, less than 1 out of 3 of Americans supported non-discrimination laws for trans people. That number is now up to 75%, so we have 3 out of 4 in support. When I was a kid, 33% of Americans believed health care was a right the government should guarantee. That number last year hit over 66%. Again, a majority of Americans. When I was a kid, only 31% of Americans supported the legalization of marijuana. Today, 60% of the people in the audience took a gummy before they walked in. Show of hands, please. Mr. President? Didn't inhale, it's a gummy. Didn't inhale, it's a gummy. Mom, put your hand down, please. My point is the trends on every notable, progressive, and liberal policy tell us the same story. Minority opinions have become majorities. And those that already had majority support when I was a kid, they've seen their support grow. Universal background checks, minimum wage increases, abortion rights, bodily autonomy, all have gained in support significantly in the span of my childhood. That's what the trend lines tell us. What was considered progressive and extremist and an overreach when I was a kid, these are mainstream ideas now. The soul of this country is getting better, even if it doesn't always feel that way. That's why I'm optimistic. Because that arc of history still is bending towards justice. In fact, I would argue it is bending faster than it ever has before. But I know that it doesn't feel that way. So why are the trend lines telling us one thing, but the headlines are telling us another? It's because we haven't delivered yet. We haven't delivered. Hubert Humphrey, he said it back in 1948. To those who say that we are rushing some of these issues, I say we are 172 years too late. JFK said it in his debate against Nixon. What the American people need to ask themselves is, are they satisfied with the progress we are making? And he said it clearly then, I'm not satisfied. Hillary Rodham, we've had lots of empathy, we've had lots of sympathy, but for too long our leaders have used politics as the art of the possible. And the challenge now is to practice the art of making what appears to be impossible, possible. We've been calling this out for 100 years. We need to deliver. Make that impossible possible. That's why I wanted to be on town board. I want to deliver. And I'm not here to put term limits on the Supreme Court or get New York State to 100% renewable energy, though Assemblymember Burdick, while you're here, we can work on that one. Well, don't worry, because we've got a lot of things here in Newcastle, too, that we've been told are impossible. We feel are impossible, and we want to make them possible. We're going to start with the Rite Aid. We're going to get that Rite Aid filled, and the church on King Street, and the abandoned fire station right behind it, the Starbucks, the Mexcellent, the Bank of America. We have 17 storefronts right now on our vacancy registry. We want to fill them all with things the residents want. We got to put together a plan for the train station parking lot. We got to figure out, do we need more space or do we need less? And if it's less, Can we put something in like green space or a splash pad or a diner? Things residents want. We got to improve the cell service in this town. I'm not worried about anyone live tweeting this because no one here has service. We've had reports that have talked about towers and node cells on telephone poles. I know Scarsdale and Rye, they've done it. I know White Plains put an antenna system on their hospital. If they can deliver, so can we. We need to invest, we need to grow, we need to better support community programs, the things our town already loves. The Farmers Market, Memorial Day, the Summer Concert Series, Community Day. Let's partner with the groups that run them. Let's make them better year after year after year. We got to improve this building. It shouldn't be sitting empty 340 days a year. Shout out Rachel Szymanski, whose name I probably just mispronounced, but she also put together a 5-year plan, literally defining for us how this building in 5 years can be profitable. We have the plan. Let's make it happen. We're going to look into renovating or rebuilding Town Hall to better support our community needs. We got to figure out a way to enforce the gas blower law. We got to assess and expedite all plans to put sidewalks or walkways on major roads, make the town more walkable. We've got to ensure every resident understand what needs to happen in order for them to connect to a sewer and ditch their septic tank. These are the things our residents want. We've got to, as our neighbor said, embrace that challenge of making what appears to be impossible possible, locally, then nationally. And I'm not so naive to think I'm going to come in here, wave some magic wand, and make all these things happen overnight. I get it. In fact, that's the piece of advice I've been getting the most. Don't try to do too much. Get the lay of the land. Wait a few months, years, before we try to get something delivered. But one of my favorite authors, his name's Ryan Holiday, he wrote, "The best time to have tackled a hard problem, the best time to have tackled a hard problem, it was a long time ago. And the second best time is right now." We know what our residents want. We know what our town needs. It's up to us, Iris, to get it started, to get things done, and make sure the future of Newcastle is even greater than the present we've all fallen in love with. So thank you. I'm looking forward to delivering with all of you.
I think I'm next, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you are.
Eric, great statement.
Thank you.
You know, it actually reminds me of when I became supervisor in the town of Bedford, and I had one of my colleagues on the town boards say, you know, let's have a cup of coffee. Let's talk about your plans. You know, you're inheriting a situation that's pretty good. You know, the financial situation with the town is good. People are happy with services that are being delivered. Yeah, you don't need to have grand plans. I thought about that, and I promptly rejected the advice because I felt that too many things still had to be done. So I love the grand plans, and I know that your colleagues on the town board share that. You know, I feel very honored to be here tonight as your member of the Assembly representing Newcastle, and it's really an honor to be part of this very joyous occasion. And as has been remarked, it's especially momentous to be here on the eve of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. And so this ceremony tonight, and we've heard this strain throughout this evening, is at the bedrock of our democracy. It marks the declaration and the decision of the electorate and the outcome of self-governance, which is what they fought for 250 years ago, which many patriots gave their lives to establish. Elections throughout this country, as Senator Harkin has said and has repeated as well, mark the peaceful and orderly transfer of authority in furtherance of our constitutional rights. And let us remember, especially with what's going on at the federal level, that we need to do everything that we can to protect and hold sacred those constitutional rights. The oath that these local officials have taken this evening is not merely, or it will be taking, is not merely ceremonial. It is a constitutional promise to uphold the rule of law. Somebody in the White House ought to pay attention to that. To respect democratic norms. Yes, you can clap at that. They could take a page from the book that's here tonight. Respect democratic norms. That would be novel at the federal level in the White House. And to serve the public interest with integrity. These promises have special meaning today. While we witness the challenges and, frankly, chaos at the federal level, we are immensely fortunate that our local governments here, and frankly throughout the county and through a great portion of the country, hew faithfully to those constitutional principles and protections. We are also immensely fortunate to be joined here this evening by someone who has spent a lifetime thinking about, working within, and strengthening our democracy, and has chosen to make this town his home. As President Bill Clinton served our nation with a keen understanding of the importance of constitutional governance, he had a talent for listening to the people and leading with understanding and, perhaps most importantly, compassion. Throughout his career, he has emphasized that our system endures not because it is automatic, but because citizens and public officials alike honor their obligations to it. So it is truly a distinct honor to welcome the 42nd President of the United States, President Bill Clinton.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It is a great honor for Hillary and me to do this whenever we're asked. And I think the only people who really understand it, why it means so much to us, for me, are people I grew up with. When I go home to Arkansas, where I grew up, I always have a meal with my best friend from grade school, who's still alive. And we've been through all life's challenges together, and he risked being fired when he was a software salesman with 3 little kids. And I was running for president, and he said, they're trying to kill Bill Clinton in New Hampshire, and I want to stop it. And I hope you'll give me leave, because I need this job. But we've been friends since we were boys. I know this attack is wrong, and I can stop it. He got in his car and drove to New Hampshire. That's democracy, too. I was listening to you all, and I was thinking of the campaigns that you waged. And I was thinking that usually, in normal times, we'd be sitting here waiting for you to give your speech and tell us what the heck you were going to do. The most important thing you did tonight was to swear an oath to support the Constitution of the United States. And I'll tell everybody I love elections, and especially if I won. But the Constitution says that to be a country of laws, we have to be for majority rule and minority rights and individual rights. And we all have to be accountable. And our founders were running away from monarchies and dictators. So they were willing to slow us down a bit so that everybody could be heard and we could follow rules that we could all embrace, whether we won or lost. And the truth is that both Republicans and Democrats normally feel this way. But when someone shows a particular gift at dividing people and confusing them, and then has a parliamentary majority not reflected in the public opinions, it's hard to turn away from that. And so I was sitting here thinking, this is the America I want. I haven't won every vote I've cast as a citizen of this township or this county or this state, but I never had any doubt that it was a fair, honest system, and that I owed the person who won that I did not vote for the benefit of the doubt and the chance to do what he or she had promised to do. So tonight, I'm just pumped up because what you're doing here tonight is more like what the founders did 250 years ago than what we see in Washington, D.C. day in and day out. And you should be very proud of it. Otherwise, I don't have strong opinions about this. There is only one other thing I want to say. I have watched as I've done this over the years. People get to know each other who would not otherwise have known each other. I have watched people of different religions, different races, different political views come together and talk and listen and find a way forward. And so I want to say I hope we can maintain a commitment to trust. Hillary teaches a course at Columbia with a former member of the Israeli Defense Forces named Karen Yarmelo. It's called Inside the Situation Room, and they talk about all kinds of stuff. Funniest conversation I've had since I left office was when President Obama called to tell me that they had gotten bin Laden. And she was the Secretary of State. She was inside the Situation Room. And by all accounts made a decisive argument in favor of the course the president chose. But the phone rings, and it's President Obama on the phone. He said, "Bill, we got him." I said, "Who?" He said, "Obama. Hillary didn't tell you?" I said, "Mr. President, didn't you tell her not to tell anybody?" He said, "Yes." I said, "She didn't tell anybody." Trust. But anyway, I did this event with this really terrific woman Hillary teaches a class at Columbia with to honor the 30th anniversary of the assassination of Isaac Rabin last November. And I told the people there the story. I said, and I confess, I said, I will confess my bias. I don't know that I ever loved another public official as I loved Rabin. He was an amazing human being. But we had this big signing, on the White House grounds, and they started this peace process. And then we got down to the details, and it got tough. But about 8 months later, we had the first big signing of land to be handed over to the Palestinian Authority from the Israeli government. And there were 9 maps. I'll never forget this long as I live. There were 9 maps with 3 copies each. And the leaders had to sign it, and I signed them as a witness before we went out to announce to the world that here's this good deal we did. And I had to go out and take a call about something going on in the Senate. I can't remember what it was, but anyway, Rabin comes out and says, "We have a problem." I said, "What is it?" He said, "Well, these maps had literally hundreds of designations on them. This is Israel's, this is Palestinian Authority, this, that, and the other, all carefully delineated. And one was about a bypass road that was close to Jericho and near a lot of the majority Palestinian, but largely Christian, not Muslim communities. And Arafat was always really proud of how he tried to take care of the Christian Arabs. So he says, Arafat says this is his, but the maps say otherwise. And I said, this does not affect America's national security. It affects you. So you guys go into my private office and decide. But remember, the whole world press car is waiting, and we're already 20 minutes late. They had never been alone before. They had fought bloody battles for 30 years, but they had never been alone before. So 10 minutes later, Rabin comes out and says, he's right, it's his. We should have, the map's wrong. We did agree. I said, well, what are we going to do now? He said, oh, we're going to sign these maps, and then Monday I'm going to give him the land. So I looked at Arafat and I said, you realize that if you do this, you are legally forfeiting the right to the land. And he looked at me and he said, his word is worth more than any written document. Can you imagine 2 members of the House of other parties saying that to each other today? So tonight when you go home, think of that. What would it take for you to trust someone of different views, of a different party, if they gave you their word that they were going to do the right thing Monday, and for about 3 days here, you'd be hanging on the wrong side of a legal nail? And I saw that with my own eyes, and I still, when I get really discouraged, I see that. So, we're swearing in people today who all have life stories. They all have strong feelings. They all have things they want to do. We can only all try to do what we want to do if there is both a rule of law and a little trust. So I'd like to ask Noah Sorkin to come forward for the first swearing-in. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Noah Sorkin,
I, Noah Sorkin,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of town justice to the town of Newcastle,
and that I will faithfully exercise the duties of town justice for the town of Newcastle
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Mr. President, Madam Secretary, gathered officials and friends, I have had the honor and the privilege of serving as a local judge here for 15 years. And I want to thank the people of Newcastle for allowing me to continue that service for the next 4 years. What is particularly gratifying, though, is that I can stand before you now and say that our local court continues to be a place of dignified resolution, where the rule of law applies to everybody, that every litigant is treated fairly and with respect, and that will continue. I promise you that. I want to congratulate all the elected officials and wish you nothing but success days moving forward. Thank you both very much.
Now I'd like to invite that's the other guy. I want to invite Badat Gashi to the microphone. Please raise your hand and repeat after me. I, Badat Gashi, do solemnly swear
I, Badat Gashi, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York,
I will support the Constitution of the United States and of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Chairman of the Westchester County Board of Legislators
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Chairman of the Westchester County Board of Legislators
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability. This is the second time I've been sworn in by the President. That's really is amazing. Thank you, everyone who's here tonight, family, friends, colleagues in government. I was told that I need to mention the legislators that are here. I want to mention Legislator Tyree Woodson Samuels. Tyree. And one of my newest members and colleagues, Legislator Nambiar, who just became the first South Asian elected to the Westchester County Board of Legislators, and the first legislator of Hindu faith in the history of our county. So welcome and congratulations. Public service isn't something that any of us do alone. It only works when we do it together. And I couldn't do it without all of you. So thank you so much for being here, for the support, for the work. I appreciate it. And I especially couldn't do it without my family. So you'll allow me to indulge a couple of, I want to recognize my mother. Mom, say hello. She's back there. I recognize my wife and kids, Vyosa, Leka, Hana. My siblings, Isat, Akram, Juka, Tony. I'm going to stop there so we can watch the Steelers, Texans game tonight. But they're mostly seated right over there. I'm especially honored to be sworn in today by President Bill Clinton, whose lifetime of service reminds us that leadership requires compassion and a courage to keep showing up, especially when times are hard. Thank you, President Clinton and Secretary Hillary Clinton, for being here tonight and for showing up for this community always. Thank you. I really appreciate it. This past term has tested us. The election of Donald Trump, the actions of the federal government, the national headlines, international political instability. It's tested our patience, our institutions, and at moments, our faith in one another. It was a struggle, but also a reminder that the work we do matters. It matters to families struggling and searching for stability. It matters to communities that want to believe their government sees them, hears them, and is working for them. It's not an easy job, but a job that I'm honored to do. Growing up, I didn't think that someone like me would ever have the privilege of standing here and taking this oath, taking this position. In truth, I don't think my parents, my mother, Tusha Goshe, or my father, Shichar Goshe, dreamed it was possible either. My election and my service are not just personal milestones. They are the result of the dreams and sacrifices my parents and my family made when they came to the United States. My ability to be elected and to serve reflects the very promise of this country. My family arrived as refugees, uncertain, but we stayed with determination, determined that hard work matters, that character matters, and that in this country, opportunity can be earned, even if it's never guaranteed. Now, that promise requires effort, and an opportunity is only real if it's open to everyone. Those lessons shaped who I am. They brought me to this moment, and they guide how I serve. Relatively recently, my daughter received a commendation for helping the new kid in class who didn't speak any English. Obviously I was very proud, but I'm also a politician, so I decided to take credit. It's true. I told them that, and this is true, I tell them on the first day of school, you find somebody that's struggling, you find somebody that needs help, and you help them. That's who we are. That's what we do. That's how we do this. So my daughter heard me say that, and she said it had nothing to do with it. I said, well, what the hell did it have to do with it? And she said that it was the stories I told her of when I'd come to this country as an immigrant, when I was the new kid who didn't speak a word of English in class, and how scared and intimidated I was then. It's incredibly meaningful. That my daughter wanted to help someone in the way that I needed to be helped. It's what gave me hope. It's what continues to give me hope. My belief in the American dream isn't abstract. It's real, it's personal. It's my family story. And so today, as I begin my next term, I promise to use the values and the work ethic that brought me here to ensure that that opportunity remains achievable, not just for some, but for everyone, no matter how your family came here. I promise to serve with integrity, to work across differences, and to never forget who this work is for. Thank you for the trust you placed in me. I accept this responsibility with gratitude, humility, and a deep determination to honor it.
It is truly a great honor to be able to swear in our new town supervisor, because Hillary and I have now lived in this township. Well, we bought our house in 1999, and the people were good enough to elect her to the Senate, and then, so when my term was over, I moved in January of 2001, I was delighted I was still welcome. And we've been here ever since. And we love it very much. We've seen most of our restaurants become the property of Albanian Americans. And we just had an Irishman become a partner in one of our Albanian restaurants, hoping that he can stave off antitrust actions. I'm delighted, sir, that you're here as part of our government. India is now the most populous country in the world. And I'm glad you want to live here. I hope you'll be happy and always welcome. Victoria, please go to the microphone. I, Victoria Bayard Tip,
I, Victoria Bayard Tip,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of town supervisor of
and,
the,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of town supervisor
of the town of Newcastle
of the town of Newcastle,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities. Thank you so much, President Clinton. As always, it's such an honor to be sworn in by you, and both you and Secretary Clinton exemplify public service. You are the best models we could possibly have. We are so fortunate to have you here in town and to have you participate in town events like this and our Memorial Day parade. We could not be more fortunate, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm incredibly honored to be reelected as your town supervisor. I've lived here for 26 years. My husband and I have raised 4 children here, and I want to thank and recognize them for their unwavering support and their encouragement through my years of public service here. And they've put up with quite a lot that I will not go into detail. Here, my husband, Robert Tip, my children, Zoe and their partner Tomek, Simon, Devin and their partner Kanako, and my youngest, Maurice. Thank you for more than I can say. I am humbled and grateful to have had the confidence of our community to serve another term as supervisor. I've served our community in elected office for the past 14 years. On the Chappaqua School Board for 10 years, and on the Newcastle Town Board for 4. First as 2 as deputy supervisor and 2 as town supervisor. A big thank you, I will repeat once again, to the Newcastle Democratic Committee for initially taking a chance on me and nominating me for this position for a 2nd term. In particular, I want to thank co-chairs Randy Glazer and Jane Silverman for not being dissuaded by my initial reluctance. As I finish my 1st term, I can say unequivocally that you have been nothing but supportive and respectful of our positions. Never, ever for 1 minute having an agenda to ask me to do, never imposing your thoughts, and only being respectful. If you've ever disagreed, you have kept it to yourself, so thank you. So here I stand as town supervisor of a small local municipality. As I think of my role, I can tell you that we will, mostly by the grace of our talented, knowledgeable, and dedicated staff, continue to provide town services with reliability and responsiveness. We'll continue to address the needs of our residents, prioritizing your well-being and programs that bring people together and foster a sense of community and belonging. Holly and Eric have admirably gone through all of the things we care about and the priorities that we'll be talking about this year, so I won't go over them again. At this time, our world is in a state of chaotic transformation, and it's impossible for me to dwell on local issues as we sit here and watching the news as we have been. My take is that right will always prevail over might. As we near Martin Luther King Jr. Day, it's apt to state one of his preferred sayings that Eric alluded to, that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. But justice doesn't arrive all by itself on horseback with a banner. It is won through great effort, moral courage, and personal sacrifice. It requires each generation to take responsibility to keep bending that arc. At a recent town ceremony marking International Day of Peace, I referred to the UN 2025 Global Peace Index, showing global peacefulness at its lowest level since the index was established, and key indicators of instability and conflict at their highest levels since World War II. Killings of millions of people are happening throughout several countries in Africa. Somehow, this has not been important enough to receive consistent, prominent coverage in the US media. Horrific atrocities were committed in Israel, followed by a deadly war. In the latest news that the media has been quite slow to adequately report, the streets of Iran are on fire. The people have taken to the streets in nearly every major city of that country in one of the biggest uprisings we have ever seen. The streets of the United States are dangerous zones of conflict. Innocent people have been killed here for exercising their right to free speech and assembly. What is our role here in Newcastle when the world, including our slice of it, is in chaos and crisis? The arc of the moral universe does not bend by itself. It bends because people move it. They shape it by the choices and actions we make and the actions we take. So how do we begin here? They say that all politics is local. If that's true, then democracy starts here. As your local government representatives, we stand at the front lines of democracy. We model the values we expect at every level of government, and in so doing, hope that our residents expect the same at every level of government. And we hope that this takes place in every town across the country. The way we govern, listen, and lead shapes our community, strengthens public trust in democracy itself, and we honor the voice of the people. We value integrity, transparency, and accountability. We hold fair elections, open meetings, invite participation, and respect differing viewpoints. We uphold due process of law. And thank you, Noah Sorkin and town justices, for enforcing that as well. And the Newcastle Police Department. We uphold due process of law here, which is the very foundation of our liberties as drafted in the Bill of Rights in the 5th and 14th Amendments of our Constitution. We defend freedom of speech that keeps democracy alive. By guarding democratic institutions, respecting the rule of law, protecting freedoms, we practice what we preach. Democracy is strongest when practiced close to homes and sets expectations and standards for the greater whole. I commit to leadership that values you, our people, that is rooted in respect, dignity, and service, and that is centered in integrity, compassion, and fairness. I look forward to the work we'll do together in the coming year. I will honor the trust you've placed in me to lead in a way that strengthens democracy, builds a strong community, and leaves our town in a better place for our residents and for future generations. And now, in closing, I would like to welcome Rabbi Jonathan Jaffe of Temple Bethel. Actually, I know that Rabbi Jaffe had a hard stop. So in his place, I welcome Pastor Siobhan again to give a closing benediction. Thank you, Pastor Siobhan.
Thank you, Vicki. I read these words on behalf of Rabbi Jonathan Jaffe. The 2nd century Israeli text, The Ethics of Our Ancestors, includes this blessing by the sage Judah ben Tema. Be strong as a leopard, swift as an eagle, fleet as a gazelle, and brave as a lion, to do the will of the Holy Blessed One. And so I say to our representatives gathered before us, may you have the strength of the leopard, the resolve to stand firm for what is right, even when it is uncomfortable or unpopular. Swiftness of the eagle, the clarity to rise above partisanship and to see the larger picture, to act decisively when action is required. Agility of the gazelle, the flexibility to listen, to adapt, to change course when wisdom or compassion requires it. And may you have the courage of the lion, the bravery to protect the vulnerable, to speak truth with humility, and to serve those who have placed their trust in you. In these divisive times, may these qualities serve you well as you guide our community towards a better shared future ahead. Amen.
And that will conclude tonight's ceremony. Thank you so much, everyone, for your presence. It has meant a lot to us. Have a good evening.
Thank you again. It's an honor. It's an honor.